What's up guys, Wagburn here, and this video is about my top 10 features that the developer of TCG Card Shop Simulator should include in the next updates. Now let's get one thing clear, the developer also included a roadmap for what he plans to include in the future on the main menu of the game, and some of the items are going to be included in this video. I'll just talk about how I want to see them and what feature they should include. I also want to include that I'm playing the game with the Pokemon, which makes everything Pokemon versions, but this top 10 will include all aspects of the game, either vanilla or even modded. Let's start with number 1, conventions. I think the developer tried to disguise them as random events in the roadmap, but if he didn't, I wish they would add conventions, because it will be a chance for you to buy special cards and figurines that are impossible or very hard to get in the packs and in the store, but even impossible figurines that are not available. The conventions could also include their very special packs that aren't available anywhere else, or very old packs that you can't get anywhere in the store, and they could include some very rare items, like if you look at the first generation Charizard in Pokemon TCG. The convention could also include its own specific items that you can get anywhere else. For example, there could be different convention types, and like these packs would be sold at this conventions, these packs could only be sold at this conventions, and this convention could have like its own type of figurine that you can get anywhere else, and it'd be really cool to see. The conventions could also include auctions for cards and figurines, for example the ones that you can't even get in the store, and you'll be betting against some AI bots or even the other shops that could be introduced later on. And you would also be able to set up your very own stand to sell some of your cool cards and figurines. And the conventions could introduce some new packs that aren't available in the game yet, or you would be able to unlock them later on in your playthrough, and you would be able to buy a specific quantity, maybe like 10 cards that nobody else can get, and you'll be able to either open them sooner or sell them sooner than anybody else. Number 2, any TCG game of this type should definitely include tournaments. You could set them up in store, which the developer already said that he's planning to do, but you could even host larger tournaments and decide what the price would be. You would decide which venue it's in, if it's your store, if it's in some kind of mall, maybe in a park, or some large stadium, and people will participate to win the prizes you decide to put in, and people would have to pay you to play in the tournament, and maybe you even could participate in that same tournament to just win some money. And also other shops, or even like the companies like the Tetramon or Pokemon company, could create their own tournaments for some special prize. It could either contain money or like a very expensive card that you could participate in and try to win it. That brings me to number 3. You should be able to play with the TCG cards you own against other people. This is also one of the things that the developer wants to include in the game, and they also want to add different types of TCG cards. For example, they have Tetramon now, which probably is resembling Pokemon, but they should add other types of cards like Yu-Gi-Oh! Into the mix, so there's more variety. The developer should also include that not all the games are similarly played. Pokemon should be played one way, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Should be played the other way, so there should be different game mechanics for the cards you decide to play with. And if it's possible, they should base it on how the real life is, so get the Pokemon game as really close as possible as they can get. I don't know if that would violate any copyright issues, but if it's possible, it would be really easy for the modders to just swap cards, and they wouldn't need to play with anything other than swapping the designs of the cards, and they don't need to change how the games are played. And this brings me back to the last step, because if you can play the TCG, you can participate in the tournaments. This brings me to number 4. You should be able to have like a city or a game map that you can free roam in. It would like show where all the convention venues are. It could be literally like a small park in the middle of the city, it could be a massive stadium, or the conventions could be even held in the mall. And you would also be able to see where other stores are located, so that the market price isn't just some made up price, but you could actually see that there's different stores selling at those prices. And that would mean that like the actual location actually matters. Like if you're on the corner of the city, you might not see as many people coming to your store than we're in the middle, located in some rich district where everybody passes through. This takes me to number 5, different shop locations. Right now you can own your own store and then have a second store as well. But how about like there will be specific store locations around the free roam map where you could either move to or just buy it to own it, and the location would matter because like I said before, you could be in like the less populated area and nobody would really come to your shop. But if you decided to like spend a little more money on rent, you could have more people coming into your store, and the shops could be located on a street like it's now, or they could be in a mall, or like I said before, some rich districts where you could like walk around and see that other stores are selling rings. Of course, they wouldn't be accessible because they don't belong to the game, but it would seem like it's some kind of rich district. And it would be possible to own many stores. You wouldn't need to own just 2 stores or 1. You could buy, for example, 10 stores and run them each differently. And when you buy different stores, you can also sell your old locations, and the prices on those stores would fluctuate. For example, one day they could be worth $1,000, the next day they could be worth $500. So you could you could make some money off of it, or you could even lose some. This would also introduce competition. Like I said before, you would actually be physically able to go into their store and see what their prices are and decide if you need to put your prices up or prices down. And for example, it could be like a bigger store and they already have a lot of customers, so they could get away with putting their prices slightly higher than your shop. Or they could try to screw you over and put their prices as low as they can, so nobody would go to your shop anymore. And we could even see the interaction of having your own sale. The other stores could have a sale just to lure more customers over. The shops would be small shops. For example, there could be like a small shop that only focuses on old figurines and special stuff. It would be really expensive. Or there can be bigger shops that pretty much own most of the market and you need to take the market over from them. You would also be able to visit those stores, so you could buy their stuff and they could also buy the stuff for you. So for example, you have that figurine, expensive figurine that's worth $1,000. They buy it from you. Next day you see they're selling it for $2,000 and people are actually buying it. So you can get screwed over like that, or you can go into their store, buy their packs because you see they're selling cheaper than you, and put them up in your store or even open them. These shops could also change locations, so based on if you move or something happens in the world, they can change the locations to a better location or worse based on how much money they're making. And they can even go bankrupt, and it would introduce new stores in the world. This can also introduce the difficulty of the game. You could set it on easy, normal and hard. Based on like if you would play it on easy, it would be 100% just the best store in the town. But if you set it too hard, they would maybe get away with putting the prices higher and people would still come into their stores to buy it, even though you're selling for lower prices. And the difficulty part is something that the developer mentioned in the roadmap. So maybe we could see a competition coming soon. Next thing I want to talk about is customers trade-in. Customers would walk into your store and try to sell you their items. The items could be literally the worst garbage you ever seen, like a 3-cent card or something. Or sometimes they could come in and have like a special stuff on their hands. It could be like a card that's worth $100,000 or a figurine $100,000, and sometimes they would sell it to you for a smaller price than it's actually worth. And you would just grab it and you could have displayed it into your store and try to sell it for a higher price. And they could also bring you impossible items that you can get from the store. For example, you lose a tournament and the price that is specific to that tournament, it can turn up at your shop with the customer and you can buy it off of him, and there's no other way of getting it. So the items could be bad, hard to get, or even impossible. I would also love to see some kind of calendar in the game. You could even have like a different seasons. For example, around the Christmas time, people would be buying way more stuff than they are in the fall because more people want to buy gifts. And it could be something short, like a 2-week seasons. And like the calendar pretty much would just show you 2 weeks. It would show you what times the tournaments are, what times the conventions are, what days they're on, and even show you stuff like the release times for new cards. And it could even show you release times of the new cards, which ties into my next feature. There should be different release dates for items. Right now, everything in the TCG Card Shop Simulator is based on your shop level. But how about you would also see when each item gets released? For example, you have the basic cards at level 1 and they're unlocked from the first day. But then you would see that 10 days later a new pack is coming out, and it would be easier to track your progress of your shop level if you see that the cards are coming out tomorrow and they're available around shop level 6 and you're still at shop level 3. Maybe you should get a move on and sell more stuff and gain more experience because you're falling behind. But then again, you could also see that your shop is level 10 and the cards are coming out tomorrow are, for example, shop level 8, and you just know you're ahead of everybody else and you'll be able to get those cards right away. So this way you would be able to introduce new card packs and even new items like the figurines or the board games. Like we talked about before, this could also see that new types of TCG card packs companies would be emerging. For example, at first you just have Pokemon cards, and suddenly in 30 more days you notice that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is about to get released and there's a new way to play the game and new types of cards. And the last feature, which is really hard to get because it's almost impossible for the developer right now, but it would be really cool to see if there will be some sort of multiplayer in the game. Like it could be just 5 people running a shop together or something, or even compete against each other, and you could open stores at different locations and see who's gonna be more successful. But it's really hard to run the servers, and this game really doesn't need multiplayer, but it's just a wish that would be really cool to see in the game. What do you guys think? Would you like to see these features as well? What other features would you also like to see? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.